Season 1 of Every Year After wraps up on a hopeful note for Percy and Sam's decade-long love story. Percy's trip to Barry's Bay, triggered by the tragic death of Sue Floreck, ends up being so much more than a goodbye. It becomes a journey of healing, reconciliation, and finally facing a complicated past. And by the end, it opens the door for a possible future between the two of them. But here's the thing. It also tears apart the bond between Sam and his older brother Charlie in a way that feels almost irreparable. And as Season 1 closes out, Charlie's story is left completely up in the air, with Percy having been estranged from both her own sense of self and that beloved lake town for almost an entire decade. Season 2 renewal status. Now, as of right now, Every Year After has not officially been renewed for a second season. The show's future is still undetermined. But if a renewal happens quickly, we could potentially be looking at a new season as early as 2028. Charlie's cliffhanger. So let's talk about that cliffhanger because Season 1 ends on a big one. After Sue's funeral, everything falls apart between the Floreck brothers. Sam finds out that Percy hooked up with Charlie, his own older brother, right after Sam was the one who initiated their breakup back in 2016. That's a lot to process. And because of it, Sam basically cuts ties with Charlie entirely after their mother's funeral. Charlie, on the other hand, buries himself in work, pushing himself to the point of near death just to escape dealing with his personal life. And then at the very end of the season, Charlie suffers a heart attack and hits the ground. That's where we're left. Season 2, if it happens, would need to deal with the fallout of that medical emergency and everything else that's been left unresolved. Source material: The Book Connection. Here's where it gets really interesting for book fans. Every Year After is actually an adaptation of Carley Fortune's 2022 novel, Every Summer After, the first book in the Barry's Bay series. And that book has a sequel called One Golden Summer. That sequel follows a photographer named Alice who spent a magical summer in Barry's Bay as a teenager. As an adult, circumstances inevitably pull her back to the town, and her path crosses with none other than Charlie Floreck. Now here's the hint the show drops in the Season 1 finale. Charlie comes across a photograph of himself, Percy, and Sam. That's almost certainly a nod to that sequel novel, which means a potential Season 2 could be adapting One Golden Summer, putting Charlie and his love life front and center. Season 2 cast, returning characters. So who can we expect to see in Season 2? The core trio, Sadie Soverall as Percy, Matt Cornett as Sam, and Michael Bradway as Charlie, would very likely all be back. And the supporting characters with unfinished storylines, expect them to return too. That includes Chantal, played by Aurora Perrineau, Geordie, played by Joseph Chiu, as well as Abigail and Delilah, played by Cowan. Their stories are far from over. As for the younger cast, Blue Clark as young Sam, Carson McCormack as young Charlie, and Juliette Hawke as young Percy, they could potentially return in flashback sequences. And Elisha Cuthbert, who played Sue Floreck, could also show up in flashbacks. New characters in Season 2. Now, if Season 2 does follow One Golden Summer as its source material, we'd be getting two major new characters. First, there's Alice, the photographer with a deep connection to Barry's Bay and Charlie's love interest. And second, her Nana, whose health brings the two of them to the lake town. Plus, with any new additions like these, you can count on new supporting characters coming along with them. Percy and Sam's future. But don't count Percy and Sam out just yet. Even if Charlie and Alice take center stage in Season 2, Percy and Sam are the heart of this whole story, and their journey is far from over. Sam does return to Barry's Bay by the end of Season 1, but there's still so much that's unsaid and unresolved between them. Percy's affair with Charlie, her choice to keep it secret for years, Sam needing space, the real difficulties of their past relationship, none of that is magically fixed, so fans can expect their story to continue running alongside Charlie's in a future season. Other storylines to watch. And beyond the main love triangles, there are other storylines worth keeping an eye on. Chantal and Geordie's risky new romance is just getting started and could get a much deeper look in Season 2. And Delilah's personal journey of self-discovery, and how that shapes her love life is another thread that could make for a really compelling storyline going forward. So that's everything we know about Every Year After Season 2. The possible plot directions, the cast, the book connection, and when it might arrive. If you're as hooked on this story as we are, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. We'll be covering this one closely. See you in the next one.